Okay, let's shift gears from the younger son to the older son. Okay, we don't know if there were daughters in play. We've been given these two sons, and so let's shift gear to the older son. The older son demonstrates a sense of self as well. Now, I know if you're like me, most of us have been told growing up that, there were the good son and the bad son. The bad son ran away, the good son stayed at home. As you got a little bit older, maybe a pastor said, okay, well, the bad son ran away, but he came back because he loved the father, he missed the father, or he realized the error of his ways. And the older son then became jealous, and they've used that to demonstrate the way that sometimes as church folk we can behave when that person that's been getting away with everything for years comes back into the flock. And so I've heard the story both ways. But in this I want to focus on the older son simply from the position of self. The way he went about it was different, but he was still motivated by self. The older son felt that he had earned what the father had. When the brother comes home, he is ticked off. Why is he ticked off? Because he thinks that because he stayed and he worked and he toiled for the father, that he's entitled. Okay? He felt like he worked enough to receive it. Okay? Whereas the brother just took it and left, and that made him bad. He was the good son. He stayed. He worked. He was entitled because he had earned it. How many times in the church do we have people say, it's not works-based, it's not works-based, but ooh, look what I did. Okay? So he thought he had earned it. So it's self. It's self. I did it myself. He wanted to hoard the father's stuff for himself and his friends. He says, you have never given me this. You have never given me even a goat. Even you haven't given me the fatted calf. You haven't given me the robe. You haven't given me the ring. You haven't given me this stuff for me and my friends. He wanted to take what the father had and then redistribute it to himself and his group of friends. He wanted to take what the father had and make it his and the people that he deemed worthy. Now, a lot of people can step back and they can say, hey, we do that all the time, where we say, or we see that all the time. Maybe you do it. I hope I don't, but sometimes I think I'm probably guilty too. We've all done it. We say, we want this for God, save me. God, save my family. God, save my friends. God, save this person. God, help take care of this person. And we're often so guilty of not saying, God, help save all that you will. God, for everyone. Okay, so what we see is the self in the older son. He wants to hoard what the father has for himself and those people that he feels close to, that he wants to also include, but then he wants to exclude everybody else by that statement. Okay? So once again, he felt like he earned what the father had through works, which is caused by himself, not from the father, but because what he had done, what he had earned. Then he wanted to hoard what the father had for himself and his friends. Then he tried to justify his place inside the family by weighing his performance over his brother. This is one of the worst forms of self that we see in Christian life. He said, because I am this, I am better than him. Because I stayed and worked and toiled, I am better than him who ran off and wasted your money on prostitutes and whatever type of living. He had Dad, he took your money, Dad, and he ran off over there, Dad, and he spent it on pimped out BMW with 25-inch spinning rims that he couldn't even turn the car to get into McDonald's anymore because the wheel wouldn't turn all the way because it was rubbing. He wasted your money. Then he had some hoochie up in the car with him and she spent your money, Dad. And that's what he did, not me, Dad. I was out in the field and I was plowing the row and I was bringing in the crops and I was making sure that nobody stole from you, Dad. And I was watching over everything. And so look at me, Dad. I'm so much better than him. So he used his works, his self, to justify and weigh himself based on performance as being better than his brother. We do the same thing. I know I got problems, God, but at least I'm not that guy. Sound familiar? It should. We see it in the Bible when you've got the man standing in the temple praying out loud so that other people can hear him, and he actually prays, God, thank you for not making me like that sinful tax collector over there. Weighing oneself against another to make yourself look good is saying that I, through my performance, have done this. So that's self. But at the same time, it is being hateful to one's brother by not showing the love that Jesus wants us to show. Now, why do we do that? Why did the older son do it? He wanted the prestige of being the good son, showing off what he did. Man, I took care of things when my little brother left. My little brother didn't have it together. He took up what he needed and he got out of here and I stayed. I rebuilt Dad's fortune. Okay? I am the heir apparent. And I did this. And I did this even after he messed it all up. After he ran off with half of everything Dad had, man, look what I did. The prestige. The prestige is self-glory. When we want the prestige from something that is the Father's, then what we want to do is we want to steal the glory. We want to steal the glory from God. While the younger son felt entitled and was driven and motivated by greed, the older son had issues with self too and was motivated by justification, self-worth, and wanting this prestige. Thanks for listening to the short podcast about the older brother. We'll talk in the next installment about the third brother, the one that we often overlook. Y'all have a great evening.